For more on the Biden impeachment inquiry, I'm joined by South Carolina Republican Congresswoman and member of the Oversight and Accountability Committee, Nancy Mace. Congresswoman, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Great to have you. Let's start with this impeachment inquiry. Here is House Speaker McCarthy from earlier today.
Well, it looks to me like 9 Biden family members got money. I want to see bank statements. I think they'd have to come before us to answer the questions. Remember what impeachment inquiry is. It empowers Congress in a legal ability to get the information we need.
What are your expectations for this impeachment inquiry?
Well, it'll expand our subpoena power, and it should get us at Joe Biden's bank records. And all of the Biden family members involved in this bribery scheme should be subpoenaed and should come before the Congress, but also Joe Biden's bank records. At the end of the day, any inquiry into impeachment should be about Joe Biden. And I want to see those bank records. And the left wants to say, and mainstream media want to say there's no evidence. Evidence is everywhere. It's in text messages, it's in emails, it's in meetings, dinners, phone calls, SARS reports. And every time Joe Biden's been asked about it, he's lied. So if he's done nothing wrong, why lie about it? And if he shows his bank records, then we don't have to do the inquiry.
You represent a swing district in the great state of South Carolina. Do you worry that moderates, independents may see this as overreach?
Well, I think there's always a risk anytime you're going down the impeachment path for anyone who's in the middle or a moderate, but we want to follow the facts. And I agree with the speaker on letting the bank records guide us. Let's not rush the subpoenas. Let's get the bank records first to make sure that we have the facts to back it up. And if someone's lying, we'll be able to prove it under oath.
If there are some threats to the speaker in terms of his job from some of the most conservative members of your GOP conference, let's play him on that front.
These are individuals that they have a right to do what they want, but I am only going to focus on the American public. Look, I showed in January, I will never give up. We have made great progress here on changing this Capitol. And when you change Washington, you get enemies.
You're dealing with a Democrat in the White House, a Democrat-controlled Senate. To have any power in these negotiations, don't Republicans need to be unified?
Well, we do need to be unified, but also not taken for granted. It's not just the Freedom Caucus. There are others within our caucus that have been taken for granted. A lot of promises have been made. A lot of promises have not been kept. And here we are facing a possible government shutdown that I do believe is going to happen. And so basically, we're at the end of the year. There's no more time to get anything done. And I think both sides, Republicans and Democrats alike, are going to have a lot of explaining to do to the American people next year on why we got nothing done.
Does the speaker keep his job?
I think he does at the end of the day. I think the votes are there, but I think between now and the rest of the year, it's going to be a challenge for our caucus.
Do you expect a government shutdown?
I do. I do expect a government shutdown. And what a lot of people may not understand, it's not necessarily the end of the world. The president, unless Congress gets its act together, can prioritize spending across the board. The vast majority of federal workers will be essential, deemed essential, be going into work. And so it's not the end. The world is not going to end if it happens, not even temporarily.
So wasn't the debt deal earlier this year supposed to make this easier? Wasn't it setting top-line numbers?
Right. It's supposed to set top-line numbers at record levels of spending. We were supposed to have 12 appropriations bills that are non-existent today. And the other thing is, I called this 3 months ago. I talked about the debt ceiling, how bad of a deal it was. The right has no business blaming the left when it comes to spending, because Republicans and Democrats alike were added $18.8 trillion to the debt with that bill. And on top of it, Republicans and Democrats alike want supplemental spending for all sorts of, quote, emergencies. And they're going to continue to spend more and more that the American people do not agree with. And we need a real budget. A continuing resolution is not a budget.
Speaking of the debt, we're at, $32 trillion and counting every minute of every day. What will it take for Washington to get serious about the debt?
Well, we need to change the people we send to Washington. $32 trillion in debt, and the debt ceiling Republicans and Democrats signed on to would add another $18.8 trillion. Basically just north of $50 trillion on the debt in the next decade, plus all the emergency supplementals. So basically the American people were misled and lied to. We need a real budget that balances things out maybe over the next 15 or 20 years. You definitely can't do it in 10 because we've spent too much money. But get back to the basics of government, getting government out of businesses, out of your boardrooms, out of the bedrooms, and getting back to just the basics and doing the right thing for the American people so the private sector and the economy can grow and thrive.
There's a lot of turmoil these days.
Yeah.
Do you like your job?
I love my job. I've been able to deliver for my district, my state, and my nation, and work on the issues that I really care about. In a post-Roe era, women's issues are very important to our country, and showing that there is a common sense conservative pathway forward that can bring consensus and bring everybody together. We have a lot of issues with immigration and the supply chain and inflation. Violence in this country is on the rise. And so, I felt like, I've been able to deliver on certain pieces of policy that I promised. And I'm excited about the future ahead, but it's not going to be easy.
You touched on inflation. How is that hurting your constituents?
Well, over our district work period or recess, I took my kids to the grocery store, Mike. Groceries for a week were almost $500. And that's no junk food. That was meat, vegetables, and fruit. That's what they were allowed to pick. It lasted 6 days. That would be $2,000 for the average family over the course of a month. Nobody, that's unaffordable. Go fill up your tank in South Carolina, it's almost $4 a gallon. Again, I cringe every time I go to the gas station because that bill is expensive.
Congresswoman, I could talk to you all afternoon, but we got to run.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
As always.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.